Hey there, beautiful humans. Welcome back to my channel where I explain complicated stuff while looking like I was drawn by a 5-year-old having a sugar rush. Today we're diving into Greek mythology, so buckle up. This is going to be messier than Zeus's dating life, and trust me, that's saying something. Let's start with the cosmic real estate division that went horribly wrong. The three brothers who split up the universe like they were dividing up Dad's inheritance. Except Dad was a child-eating psychopath, and the inheritance was literally everything that exists. Meet Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, the holy trinity of how did you get put in charge of anything? Zeus is the king of the gods, ruler of the sky, master of lightning, and Olympic gold medalist in the creative infidelity category. This man has more alter egos than a superhero comic. He's been a swan, a bull, a shower of gold coins, a cuckoo bird, an eagle, a satyr, and probably things I can't mention on a family-friendly channel. His dedication to cheating on his wife is honestly impressive in the most disturbing way possible. He's like that guy who thinks every relationship problem could be solved by shape-shifting and dramatic entrances. Zeus's weapon is the lightning bolt, which he uses to solve approximately 95% of his problems. Somebody questioning your authority? Lightning bolt. Your wife is suspicious about your latest affair? Lightning bolt. Someone makes better wine than yours? You guessed it, lightning bolt? He's basically operating on the principle that if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, blind them with electrical discharge. His symbols are the eagle and the oak tree, which is ironic because eagles are known for being monogamous, and oak trees represent stability. Two concepts Zeus has clearly never Googled. But here's where Zeus gets interesting. His backstory reads like a Greek tragedy written by someone with serious daddy issues. His father Kronos had a charming habit of eating his children because of a prophecy that one would overthrow him. Not killing them, not banishing them, literally swallowing them whole like divine takeout. Zeus only survived because his mother Rhea substituted a rock wrapped in baby clothes, and Kronos apparently had the situational awareness of a caffeinated goldfish. Zeus grew up in secret, came back as an adult, and forced Daddy Dearest to vomit up all his siblings. Can you imagine that family reunion? Hey everyone, remember when you were partially digested? Good times. Then Zeus led a 10-year war against the Titans, which was basically the ancient world's most violent custody battle. He won by freeing some monsters from prison to fight for him, proving that even gods sometimes need to hire muscle to solve their family problems. As king of the gods, Zeus is supposed to maintain cosmic order, which is like asking a tornado to organize your sock drawer. He's constantly making proclamations about justice and proper behavior, while simultaneously breaking every rule he's ever made. He's the divine equivalent of a politician who campaigns on family values while having 5 secret families in different states. Now let's talk about Poseidon, the middle child who got the ocean and all the emotional baggage that comes with being the brother everyone forgets about. Poseidon controls all bodies of water, earthquakes, and horses, which seems like a random combination until you realize it's basically things that are beautiful, essential for life, and can absolutely destroy you without warning. He's the patron god of sailors who spend most of their time desperately trying not to anger him, because his moods literally control whether they live or die. Poseidon invented horses by hitting the ground with his trident during a competition with Athena for patronage of Athens. The contest was simple. Whoever gave the better gift would become the city's protector. Athena created the olive tree, symbolizing peace, wisdom, and sustainable agriculture. Poseidon created a saltwater spring in a coastal city that already had ocean access. The judging committee was like, "Thanks, we'll stick with the useful plant that doesn't make our drinking water undrinkable." This loss to Athena basically defined Poseidon's entire personality. He's constantly trying to prove he's just as important as Zeus, leading to some legendary acts of pettiness. He once supported the Greeks in the Trojan War, partly because King Laomedon had cheated him out of payment for building Troy's walls. Poseidon held that grudge for decades, proving that gods have the memory of elephants and the maturity of middle schoolers. Poseidon's palace is underwater, which sounds cool until you think about the logistics. How do you keep scrolls dry? Where do you put the furniture? Does he have to deal with mermaids asking for noise complaints? His romantic life is as chaotic as his brother's, but with more tentacles involved. He's been with sea nymphs, river spirits, and occasionally humans, usually while disguised as something maritime themed. The ocean reflects his emotional state, which explains why ancient sailors spent so much time making offerings and praying. One day the sea is calm and helpful. The next day your ship is fish food because you forgot to pour wine into the water before departing. Poseidon represents the awesome, terrifying power of nature. Beautiful and life-giving, but ultimately beyond human control. Then we have Hades, who won the Cosmic Lottery's consolation prize and got stuck managing the afterlife. Poor Hades is probably the most misunderstood god in the entire pantheon, mainly because humans have always associated death with evil, when really death is just the ultimate bureaucratic process. Hades is basically the cosmic DMV administrator. Nobody wants to visit his office, but he keeps everything running smoothly and treats everyone fairly regardless of their VIP status in life. Hades rules the underworld, which isn't actually a place of torture. That's a misconception from the later mythologies. His realm is more like a really boring afterlife processing center, where most souls just exist in a gray, monotonous state while their paperwork gets sorted. The truly evil go to Tartarus for customized eternal punishment, the exceptionally virtuous go to the Elysian fields for paradise, and everyone else gets the ancient equivalent of purgatory with better customer service. The underworld is also where all the mineral wealth comes from, making Hades incredibly rich. He's literally sitting on mountains of gold, silver, and precious gems, which is why he's sometimes called Plutus, meaning wealth. This makes him the patron of miners and anyone else who makes their living from underground resources. Modern billionaires should probably be making offerings to Hades instead of whatever life coaches they're currently consulting. Hades rarely leaves his realm, which makes sense because every time he comes to the surface, something goes catastrophically wrong. His most famous topside adventure was kidnapping Persephone to be his queen, but even that was more of a business arrangement gone wrong than actual kidnapping. He asked Zeus for permission first, like a polite abductor, and Zeus said yes without consulting Persephone or her mother Demeter, because Zeus's idea of conflict resolution is just don't tell anyone and maybe it'll work out. The whole Persephone situation shows Hades at his most human. He's desperately lonely, ruling a realm where nothing grows and no one visits voluntarily. So when he falls in love, he has no idea how to handle it appropriately. The fact that he actually treats Persephone well once she's there, making her his equal partner in ruling the underworld, suggests that his social skills are just severely underdeveloped, rather than malicious. Now let's dive into the goddesses, starting with Hera, Zeus's wife and sister, which already tells you everything you need to know about Olympic family dynamics. Hera is the goddess of marriage and family, which is like putting someone with severe trust issues in charge of relationship counseling. She spends most of her divine existence dealing with Zeus's infidelities, not by addressing the problem at its source. Oh no, that would require actual communication, but by unleashing her rage on every woman Zeus has ever looked at sideways. Hera's revenge plots are legendary works of art. When Zeus had an affair with Io, Hera turned her into a cow and set a 100-eyed giant named Argus to watch her constantly. When Zeus sent Hermes to kill Argus, Hera honored the giant by putting his eyes on peacock feathers, which is why peacocks have those beautiful eye spot patterns. But she wasn't done. She then sent a gadfly to sting cow Io constantly, driving her mad and forcing her to wander the earth in torment. The commitment to long-term psychological warfare is honestly impressive. The Leto situation shows Hera operating at peak pettiness. When Zeus got Leto pregnant, Hera forbade any land from giving her sanctuary to give birth. Leto wandered desperately until she found Delos, a floating island that technically wasn't land. Hera's response was to send the serpent Python to hunt Leto down and convince Ilithea, the goddess of childbirth, to literally sit cross-legged and refuse to help. Leto was in labor for 9 days because the goddess of childbirth was having a divine sit-in. When Apollo and Artemis were finally born, Hera's first thought was probably, I should have tried harder. But here's the thing about Hera. She's not randomly cruel. She's systematically protecting the institution of marriage in a world where her husband treats monogamy like a suggestion. Every time Zeus cheats, it's not just personal betrayal, it's professional undermining. She's the patron goddess of wives and marriage, so Zeus's affairs make her look incompetent at her job. Imagine if your spouse kept publicly humiliating your career while expecting you to smile and support them. You'd probably send some monsters after their side pieces, too. Hera's symbols are the peacock and the cow, representing beauty and nurturing motherhood, but also the watchfulness and stubbornness that define her character. She's regal, proud, and absolutely unforgiving when her dignity is threatened. She represents the dark side of committed relationships, the jealousy, possessiveness, and desire for revenge that can poison love when trust is repeatedly broken. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, warfare, and making everyone else feel intellectually inadequate. She was born fully grown from Zeus's head after he swallowed her mother Metis, because apparently Zeus's solution to "my wife is smarter than me" was literally consuming her intelligence. The birth process involved Hephaestus splitting Zeus's skull open with an axe, and out popped Athena in full armor, ready to organize everyone's life and explain why they're doing everything wrong. Athena represents strategic intelligence as opposed to raw knowledge. She's not just smart, she's tactically brilliant, always thinking 3 moves ahead like a divine chess master. In warfare, she embodies the intellectual approach, planning, strategy, and winning through superior tactics rather than brute force. This puts her in direct opposition to Ares, who represents the smash everything and sort it out later approach to conflict resolution. She's a virgin goddess, not because she's prudish, but because she's too busy being excellent at everything to bother with romantic entanglements. She's the patron of Athens, which became the center of philosophy, democracy, and learning, proving that her city planning skills were as good as her military strategy. She invented the olive tree, the horse bridle, the flute, pottery, and weaving, basically kickstarting civilization while everyone else was still figuring out fire. But Athena has her petty moments that reveal her humanity. The Arachne incident shows what happens when someone challenges her expertise. Arachne was a weaver so skilled that people said she surpassed Athena herself. Instead of taking this as a compliment to her teaching, Athena got personally offended and challenged Arachne to a contest. When Arachne's tapestry was not only technically perfect but also depicted the gods' crimes with uncomfortable accuracy, Athena destroyed the work and turned Arachne into a spider. Even wisdom goddesses have ego problems, apparently. Athena's owl is sacred to her, representing wisdom and night vision, the ability to see clearly in darkness, both literal and metaphorical. She's the goddess students pray to before exams, the deity politicians should consult before making policy, and the patron of anyone who believes problems are best solved through careful thinking rather than emotional reactions. Aphrodite is the goddess of love, beauty, and why did I think this was a good idea at 2 a.m.? She has the most metal origin story in all of mythology. She was born from sea foam when Kronos' severed genitals hit the ocean after Zeus castrated his father. Yes, the goddess of love was literally born from divine castration foam, which explains so much about the relationship between love and violence in Greek stories. Aphrodite is married to Hephaestus, the god of metalworking, in what might be the most obvious arranged marriage in divine history. Zeus set this up to prevent the other gods from fighting over her, because his solution to "everyone wants to date the beauty goddess" was marry her to the least threatening guy. Aphrodite took one look at this situation and said, absolutely not, beginning her very public affair with Ares, the god of war. The affair with Ares makes perfect psychological sense. Love and war have always been connected. Passion and violence often go hand in hand, and both are forces that completely override rational thinking. When Hephaestus caught them with an invisible net and displayed them to the other gods for laughs, Aphrodite showed zero shame and continued doing whatever she wanted, because you can't embarrass the literal embodiment of desire into following social conventions. Aphrodite's love magic is incredibly powerful and completely unethical. She can make anyone fall in love with anyone else, and she uses this ability like a cosmic matchmaker with no moral compass. The entire Trojan War started because she bribed Paris with Helen's love to win a beauty contest. She's caused countless tragic love stories by making people fall for inappropriate partners. And she's never once shown remorse about the consequences. She represents love without wisdom, passion without consideration for the collateral damage. Her symbols are the dove, rose, and mirror, representing peace, beauty, and self-reflection, but also the vanity and superficiality that can accompany physical attraction. She's the goddess teenagers pray to for crushes to notice them, the deity that explains why people make terrible decisions when they're infatuated, and the patron of anyone who's ever wondered why they keep falling for the wrong person. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and I don't need a man to complete me. She's Apollo's twin sister, but where he's all flash and social media presence, she's quietly competent and prefers the company of animals to people. She asked Zeus to grant her eternal virginity when she was 3 years old, showing remarkable self-awareness for a toddler and probably giving Zeus his first migraine about future therapy bills. Artemis leads a group of hunter nymphs who have all sworn off men, creating the ancient world's most exclusive and well-armed girl gang. She's extremely protective of their virtue and has a zero-tolerance policy for anyone who tries to interfere. When the hunter Actaeon accidentally saw her bathing, she turned him into a stag and let his own hunting dogs tear him apart. When one of her followers, Callisto, was seduced by Zeus, who had disguised himself as Artemis because of course he did, Artemis kicked her out of the group and later helped turn her into a bear. But Artemis isn't just anti-romance. She's fiercely protective of children, young animals, and women in childbirth. She's the goddess pregnant women pray to for safe deliveries, despite her own eternal virginity, because she understands the vulnerability of new life. She represents the wild, untamed aspects of femininity, independent, fierce, and completely uninterested in being anyone's prize or conquest. Her symbols are the silver bow, hunting dogs, and the deer, representing her dominion over the natural world and her role as protector of the innocent. She's the goddess modern feminists can appreciate, the deity that proves you don't need romantic validation to have a fulfilling divine existence, and the patron of anyone who finds peace in nature rather than social situations. Demeter is the goddess of harvest, agriculture, and helicopter parenting, taken to cosmic extremes. She's responsible for all plant growth and the fertility of the earth, making her one of the most important deities for human survival. Humans can live without war, love, or even wisdom, but everybody needs to eat, which gives Demeter more practical power than most of her flashier relatives. Demeter's most famous story involves the ultimate parental meltdown when Hades kidnapped her daughter Persephone. Her response was to go on strike, and when the goddess of agriculture goes on strike, nothing grows. Harvests failed, plants died, animals starved, and humanity was heading straight for extinction. Zeus tried to negotiate, but Demeter's position was simple. Return my daughter or watch everything die. The commitment to maternal rage was impressive even by Greek standards. The situation got complicated when it was revealed that Persephone had eaten pomegranate seeds in the underworld, which bound her there according to divine law. The compromise was that Persephone would spend part of the year with her mother and part with her husband, which is why we have seasons. Winter is literally just Demeter being depressed that her daughter is gone, and spring happens when she gets excited about their reunion. Demeter represents the nurturing, protective aspects of motherhood, but also the devastating consequences when that protection turns into control. She was willing to let the entire world starve rather than lose her child, which is either the ultimate expression of maternal love or a concerning example of codependency, depending on your perspective. Her story explores the difficult balance between protecting those we love and allowing them to make their own choices. Hestia is the goddess of the hearth, home, and being the only functional adult in a family of divine disasters. She's one of the three virgin goddesses, along with Athena and Artemis. But unlike them, she didn't choose celibacy for power or independence. She chose it for peace. She took one look at the romantic chaos consuming her family and said, "Absolutely not. I'll be over here making sure the house doesn't burn down." Hestia represents stability, warmth, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from a well-ordered domestic life. Every household had a hearth dedicated to her, every meal began with an offering to her, and every new colony established a fire in her honor. She's the goddess of home in the deepest sense, not just the physical building, but the feeling of safety, belonging, and contentment that comes from having a true sanctuary. She's so committed to avoiding drama that she eventually gave up her seat on the Council of 12 Olympians to Dionysus, rather than deal with the politics and arguments. She's basically that family member who quietly excuses themselves from holiday gatherings when everyone starts fighting, preferring to maintain their peace rather than get involved in unnecessary conflict. Hestia's symbols are the hearth fire and the circle, representing the center of the home and the cycles of daily life that create stability and meaning. She's the goddess busy parents pray to for family harmony, the deity that explains why some people find deep satisfaction in domestic routines, and the patron of anyone who believes that creating a peaceful home is just as important as conquering the world. If you enjoyed watching me psychoanalyze cosmic family therapy disasters while looking like I was sketched during an earthquake, smash that like button to help the algorithm gods smile upon us, subscribe if you want more educational chaos in your life, and drop a comment letting me know which Olympian god you think needs therapy the most. My money's on all of them, but I'm curious about your rankings. Hit the notification bell because part 2 is coming soon. Until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood stick figure reminding you that no matter how dysfunctional your family seems, at least none of you can turn each other into farm animals during arguments. Peace out, and remember, part 2 is where things get really wild.